Hey teammates, Steve Medinger here. I wanted to send a quick message out just to thank the many of you who reached out, whether it was text message or through social media or even phone calls, to thank me and congratulate me on 20 years of ministry. For those that don't know, just to give you a little bit of my story, it was back in college at University of Delaware through InterVarsity Christian Fellowship that I really started growing in my relationship with the Lord. I'd come into a relationship in high school, but college was really instrumental in helping me grow. And fortunately, I had the privilege of being discipled by some upperclassmen and some staff there, and they really instilled in me, or God instilled in me at the time, just this heart for evangelism, this desire to see people coming to know Jesus in a saving relationship. And so I think that set a course for me from changing my major from business to education, and I became a school teacher a few years up in Cecil County. I taught in a middle school, and I was sharing Jesus with people. I just couldn't help myself. Like I wanted everybody, and I still want everybody to know about Jesus. But while I was there, I found out there was this small club on campus called Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And not really knowing any better, I'm like, are you kidding? You can have a Christian club in the public school? Like, this is fantastic. They had a small group of kids coming. Maybe it was about 4 or 5 kids coming, and they did a little devotion and prayer, and it was great. And I reached out to them and I said, hey guys, we're Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Let's add a sports element to this and see what happens. And so we did. We kept going with the devotion and the prayer, but we added an extra half hour to the club and did a sports activity. And in that same year, we went from having 4 to 5 kids to 50 to 60 kids coming out to FCA each week. And I just fell in love with the ministry. I'm like, this is fantastic. Unfortunately, I wasn't sure if teaching was what I wanted to do at the time, and so I just decided to take a year off. I went to work in the business world, did really well there just in that year, and I wasn't really looking for a change, but I did have that in my heart. I was like, man, I miss working with young people. And so I'm sitting there at work one day, and I get contacted by Johnny Lowe, who was the director of Northern Maryland FCA at the time. We were a brand new ministry, just a few huddles around Hartford and Cecil County. We didn't even have Baltimore County at the time. And Johnny said, we're looking for somebody full-time. Would you consider coming on? You came to mind as knowing what happened there at the middle school where you were teaching. And I kind of knew right away that was what I was supposed to do. And so after talking about it a little bit with my wife, probably not as much as I should have, I said, yeah, I'm in. And he's like, great, by the way, we have a $7,000 annual budget. And I'm like, well, that's not going to work. So we had some fundraising to do, and was able to come on full-time staff with Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I love it. I think it's one of the best strategies when you involve sport, something that not only this country, but really the whole world is so crazy about. It's the number one discretionary activity in our country, and you use that platform to spread the good news of Jesus Christ. It really is an effective way. And so I never in a million years when I started with FCA would have imagined, at 20 years in, we would have 15 staff and $1 million budget and thousands of kids having gone to camp and 90 plus ministries going on in Northern Maryland. It just has been amazing, and I attribute that to God. I think God could have called anyone to this position, and he probably would have done the same thing. But he has done so many miraculous things in Northern Maryland, and that I've got to be along for the ride. And so many of you have made that possible. And so as I reflected, I just was reflecting on the many people who have just given generously, and not just of their money, although that's been a huge part. I couldn't do that. My staff couldn't do that without it. But they've also given of their talent and their time, and I'm so appreciative of that. A couple other things, just in reflecting in 20 years that God's taught me is don't hold on to this too tightly. This is not my ministry, it's his, and right now I feel like I'm supposed to keep going with FCA, but I've always prayed, Lord, don't allow me to stay in this longer than I'm supposed to. If you need somebody else to take it to the next level, then please call that person. But right now, I feel like he's continued to call me to this great ministry, which I'm super appreciative of. It's had a huge impact on me, my family, and so many of my friends and their families as well, and just this community. One of the other things that God's taught me is just make sure you stay humble. You really need to continually give God credit for the good things that are happening. It's by grace that we have been saved. It's by grace. We didn't deserve it. We didn't earn it. It's by His grace. We weren't deserving of it. We were deserving of death and destruction. And God, in His mercy, stuck out His hand to this dead person and pulled them to life. And as a result, like, even the things that we do are a manifestation of just His saving power and His work in our life. And so got to keep that at the center of all we believe, whether you're in ministry full-time or not in ministry. Stay humble, give God the credit for everything that happens, and I'm looking forward. I don't know if He'll keep me in here 20 more years. It's 20 more before I turn 65. I kind of hope He does, but whatever happens, I just wanted to reach out and say thank you guys. Thank you for 20 years. Some of you have been in since the beginning. Some of you are newer, and just know I appreciate all of you, and I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. God bless.